Okay, everyone, I want to do a little walkthrough of the recipes for this week. We're going to start with this cauliflower steak. Okay, and so we do steak with quotation hands on this. Basically, what we're doing is we're going to treat this basically like a protein. We're going to trim the green leaves off the bottom. So if you have a head of cauliflower, get everything green off the bottom, but we want the stalk to stay intact. And the reason we want that is we want all the florets that are the outer part, right? We want that all to be connected because we need to cut a cross section of that that's going to stay together. And so that stalk, that root in the middle is going to help us do that. So we don't want to just trim it down to nothing. We want to keep some of that on there, okay? And cauliflower lends itself well to this anyway, but it kind of does stay together. But with the stalk on the cutting board, so we're going to have our round shape on the top, our head, slice the cauliflower into 4 half-inch steaks. Now, if you need to save some of your cauliflower for another application, I'm not going to require you to do 4, but the half-inch is pretty critical. We want it thick enough that it cooks like a protein, but we don't want it too thick that it stays raw, and we don't want it too thin that it turns into mush, okay? And so it's kind of this delicate balance, but the thickness of that steak is going to kind of dictate how well it cooks, okay? And so reserve the rest of the cauliflower for another part of your assignment. And then basically from here, we're going to treat this like a piece of protein, okay? We're going to brush it with olive oil or any kind of oil that you would like to use. Season it however you would like. Salt and pepper is pretty straightforward. Way to go. And then the recipe gives you some options for preparing this. And now you've done these techniques before, from grilling, broiling, pan searing. Basically, you're going to treat this just like you would a piece of, let's say, red meat. In this case, we're going to either put it on the grill, we're going to broil it, we're going to pan sear it. All of those techniques have their own different things that we've talked about in classes, but basically we want to get a nice color on there, and we also want to get a good degree of doneness. Now, there's not going to be such a thing as a medium rare. Okay, obviously we're cooking vegetables, so we get a specific place where it's done, and that's where we want to hit it. Okay, and so there are some times on these recipes a little bit. About 2 minutes, almost 2 minutes, flip steak after 2 minutes, 45 degrees for 1 minute. That's not set in stone, right? These are characteristics that we're trying to achieve. And so what we want to do is give ourselves a nice cauliflower steak when we're done. And so just treat it like a piece of protein after you get it together. But the trick or the keys with this recipe is going to be, one, keeping that core center of the cauliflower intact so that we can get our thickness or get our steaks and they don't all crumble apart. And then the second is going to be the thickness in a half an inch. If you need to get your ruler out, I would recommend that. That's going to ensure that it cooks all the way that we want it to cook. But that's our cauliflower steak recipe.